A look back at the history books is often misleading. Understanding paramount journeys in this country is not easy to comprehend. Too many variables, too many things we did not know. Enter the World Wars. Did you know that the Native Americans were not just involved? They were in the middle of one of the most intricate phases of an international operation. Not only did they serve, but they developed a language, one that could only be understood by the military they served, a code, thus the name Code Talkers.
With specifically to the Code Talkers and with American Indians that use their languages to send and receive messages. It started in World War I, it started with the Choctaw, and before that really got to, before the program really got underway, the war was over. And so in World War II, they revitalized those efforts, and they worked with over a dozen different tribes. The Navajo had the most sophisticated code.
One member of the Navajo Nation was Samuel So, a young man who wanted to be a part of it. As a young student on an Arizona reservation, he came to school one day to find several older classmates gone.
December 7, 1941. I was a senior in high school. That's when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. The following Monday, all the boys in my classroom never showed up.
They had enlisted to serve in World War II, and soon his opportunity would come. And part of his duty was to send signals that could not be interpreted by anyone else.
What really surprised me and my partner was that the young Marines memorized all the codes in such a short time. And we said to each other, hey, if these kids can memorize this in such a short time, the Japanese will memorize it too. So right there, me and my partner, we start developing another set of code, following the same procedure as it was developed.
He was a part of a significant group of Native Americans. They were not high profile. They were there to do what other people their age wanted, to help fight for their country.
February 23rd, 1945, a message came in, a coded message. As I grabbed the pad and wrote it down, the Marines in the foxhole said, "What's up, Chief?" All I did was point to the flag on top of Mount Suribachi.
He was there at Iwo Jima when the flag was raised in one of the most symbolic signs of patriotism in U.S. history.
We just jump out of the foxhole and start celebrating. We saw the flag waving up there. And I found out most of the Code Talkers never saw that flag. Me, I received it on the message.
They were a proud group that wanted to put country first. When the opportunity to get involved in the international language became a part of it, they became prize soldiers for a number of reasons.
They made it more formalized program where they actually went out and recruited American Indians for their language skills so they could send and receive messages, trained them on radios, trained them in communications. And then from that there was a more elaborate code developed by the Navajo where they actually took their language and they assigned different Navajo words to different things, maybe even things that weren't in their language. You know, prior to World War II, there may not have been a Navajo word for bomber or for tank for that matter, or machine gun, things like that.
If you translate it back to English, it doesn't mean anything. Like for a potato, that's one example that Samuel So told me. A potato is a grenade.
If some of this sounds like new news, it's because their accomplishments were not recognized for years after the war. There were no medals, no ceremonies, until decades later.
One of the first people to recognize it was actually President Reagan, I think in the 80s, that made reference to it. It's really been a movement within Now I'd say the last 15 to 20 years that they've been starting to get more recognition.
That's why it becomes so fascinating to listen to So's stories. A time and a place and a mission that few are familiar with, and their record of the past is important to history and to the confidence and dignity that comes with it.
The Navajo are very patriotic. They're very proud of their country and the people that have served in the armed forces.
I think the pride basically comes from a lot of our elders that were in the military, and a lot of our own people served in the military as code talkers, and also just being the biggest tribe in the United States, and a lot of people are just pretty much proud to be Navajos.
That's why it's important that those that were there get in on the record and continue to educate on what was.
Today, I cannot see why I didn't get hit and died over there. Most of my buddies, they got shot on the right, shot on the left, and they died over there.
They are a part of the United States pride, and that they will defend what is precious and what is at the core of their own code.
American Indians have a long history of service in America. And actually American Indians have been one of the few groups of people that have fought in every war that America has been involved with. And especially during the World War I and World War II and the later wars and conflicts, American Indians served disproportionately, in disproportionate numbers. And a lot of those were volunteers in the different services.
So is out there to talk, to remember, to remind that this country is built by many, many that we were not aware of.
And sure enough, I came home and here to tell about it.
Life to the Max is brought to you by LifeTouch, photography for a lifetime.